lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and today I'm going to be going through a really dope mini-series from DC Comics in the 80s, which I'm starting to see more and more was a fantastic era for DC Comics. A lot of stuff I've been discovering for the first time. Some stuff I had, maybe one issue of, but like I was able to pick up the whole series. That's the case for this one. So I'm definitely having a blast going through some of these old comics from this era. Green Arrow, one of my favorite characters, of all time. I mean, I have a Green Arrow tattoo right there, if that doesn't tell you anything. I believe I had this issue 1, and then I had the issue 4. Couldn't find them in my collection, so I saw this up for sale. Picked up the the 4 issues again. Very eager to finally finish this and read it all in one sitting. And let me tell you, fantastic. This book, so good. Definitely, it's, this is pre-crisis, so you're definitely going to have a little bit of a different origin. Obviously, the origins have been reboot after reboot. They've constantly changed stuff. I mean, there's been a live-action TV show, which has a different origin. Also kind of differs a little bit from the comic books. But nonetheless, fantastic book. This is the miniseries by Mike W. Barr and Trevor von Eeden. I can't even tell you how good this book is. It's phenomenal. The story, fantastic. And Von Eden's artwork is just so good that I have now been looking up all day some past work by him. I know there's a Black Canary book. He did 2, but there's a miniseries, and then there was a 12-issue series that he worked on too. And I have one of them that's definitely going to be an episode for the channel for sure. But just wanted to kind of flip through these real quick. Won't get too crazy into it because I definitely think that it's something you should probably experience for yourself. I'll kind of gloss over maybe more of the back end in terms of like the story. But just want to show off some cool stuff visually that was done in this book. So we open up, great little montage sequence of, kind of introducing us to Oliver, aka Oliver Queen, Green Arrow. And it's interesting too because it talks about him being like he's writing for a newspaper. Very weird. I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't aware of that at all. So this was definitely something new for me to kind of discover. Like I said, I read this comic, but it was a very long time ago. It's kind of cool to see this like different aspect to him. And it makes sense that he could write like a, not a puff piece, but like something along the lines of like being an advocate for, human rights and stuff like that. And he's always been, against like, the man, quote unquote. So interesting. I mean, they don't even really talk about it that much in here, but I would be kind of curious to see how those stories kind of played out prior to this. I know he was definitely doing some backups and maybe the Batman story, Brave and Bold, stuff like that. So definitely want to be on the lookout for that. But, it opens up. It's taking down this guy, taking down a couple guys that have mugged somebody, even giving them till the count of 10 to stop what they're doing. 1, 2, 10, boom. And like, love this shot, dude. Love the coloring, on this newsprint. Something like they don't really use now because like they'll just color this normal, but getting to see this like all in red, right? Or this like magenta, these pinks that you just don't see as much used, and like just one bold color, bold red background with him looking like that. Definitely a very cinematic look to the Von Eden's artwork that I really dig. The shots the angles that he uses, I don't really see that very often, and I'm kind of curious. I don't know, a lot of Alex Toth, I would say, kind of seems like might be an influence. Not entirely sure, that maybe that's just me, but I love this. Even like this guy that he's taking out, like, oh yeah, man, I've studied the best, Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, and as he goes for this kick, boom, you see it kind of off camera what all he does, but he does something and he knocks him straight on his ass. And as he goes on his way, this is Oliver Queen without all his wealth. He's went on the road with Hal Jordan, the Hard Traveling Heroes that Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil run. So he's just got this like basic apartment, comes in through the window, and somebody's knocking at the door, and that's where we get. This is what kicks off the story, where he's being visited by this lawyer, and she's handing him this piece of paper and instantly triggers a memory. Has the smell of lavender, and he is transported back in time to when he was, young, wealthy, and this older lady comes and talks about a business opportunity, and they develop a friendship. Even the newspaper, the tabloids are like, oh, there's this weird relationship between these two people, but it really is just a friendship that is developed between him and Abigail Horton. She's very wealthy too. She owns like this huge corporation, and during that time he is introduced to the daughter, Cynthia, and they have a relationship, and cool little montage of that. I like how they signify like these moments in blue. I think that's really cool. Ollie being Ollie back then when he's young, breaks up with her. They don't work, and he, to get away from everything, goes on a yacht. It's overrun by pirates. He gets thrown off the boat, and this is the origin, of course, like how he comes to be Green Arrow. We see him like on the island very briefly, coming back to Star City, even reuniting with his friend Abby, and we see Oliver back then with his classic Golden Age costume, Speedy, the Arrow car, stuff like that, losing his fortune. I just love the way they've depicted this. It's a very cool way, very snappy, quick, getting the origin out of the way for people that may not be familiar with the character. And as he's lost everything and this corporation has taken over Oliver Queen's company, he's visited by Abby, and she's like, I'll help you get on your feet, and he kind of snaps at her. He's like, nope, I got myself into this. I'll get myself out. And then flash forward, we get, like I said, the hard traveling heroes. He talks about meeting one of his best friends, Hal Jordan, and the love of his life, the only one that could kind of fill that void of Cynthia, and it's Dinah, aka Black Canary. And then we see that, we find out he's to attend the last will and testament of Abigail. So as he's there and they're reading everything, he sees Cynthia, he hasn't seen her in a while, meets her husband, the son, the brother are all there, and he's sitting there as he's sitting there, the lawyer, Thorndyke, is going to read the will. Says who gets what. The son gets the least amount of money. The daughter gets a little more than him, and then the brother gets some. And obviously there's a greed involved. Like the son's like, that's all he's getting. The wife is like, sitting there, and her husband is, what about the stock? And quieting him down. And the only one that doesn't seem really like upset with what he got was the brother. Just says, God rest. And then to Oliver, I'm going to leave you the crystal goblets you so admired. There's more. He gets the sum of $34 million and controlling stock in Horton Chemicals, and to succeed her as president and chairman of the board. Everybody's pissed, obviously, right? They're like, who is this guy? Why is he getting anything? He even says, I haven't seen her in a year. But that is what's going to kick off this mystery of, why did she get left the money? Or why did Oliver get left the money? Why was it done only 2 days before her death? And, this woman, Deidre, who's Thorndyke's assistant, is confirming everything, that she went there a couple nights before she passed, and everything is up to, and everything is confirmed. Like, this was not a mistake. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to look into. You can sue all you want. You can spend all this money, but Oliver was left this stuff, and it was her wish for him to have it. And he's disgusted with them. He leaves, tells them to go straight to hell. And then his apartment, as he's walking up to his apartment with Dinah, his apartment gets blown up. Now he's on the hunt. He's looking for whoever did it. He finds somebody, and it's just some random hood. He has no idea who he could be connected to, but he's about to question him, but something happens. As he's being questioned, he gets this like electric shock that like kills him. I love this right here. This is awesome. And again, Von Eden's like, just the angles that he chooses, whether it's like this simple as walking down the corridor, this technique with the electric shock happening on this criminal's body, dude, and charring his flesh, and just awesome. He gets back, now he's got his money again, and he's like, oh, it reminds me of home. Now we're gonna jump into the second issue. Things are starting to go through Ollie's mind, like, what happened? Why did he get left the money? Was her death, was there something more to it? Now he's going to be investigating it. he's taken over the company, but he's doing it begrudgingly because like he's been happy without his money, right? Like he's found purpose in life and he doesn't necessarily want to go back to that world, but he's gonna use his the money that he has. He's gonna use this position that he has at the company to investigate and see what he can do. And at the same time, he's kind of benefiting because he's putting these like new arrows together, testing them out. He's talking to Dinah, so he's trying to see if his phone's being tapped because he knows there's something else going on. Love these angles, love these shots of a Green Arrow, love how it's breaking panel borders. And Trevor von Eeden was only 24 at the time, maybe 23. Very, very talented at a very young age. Love these shots, all black background. We see like the angle of the arrows coming at us. He's investigating. He's doing some real detective work. Not something I would typically correlate Green Arrow with, but I dig the fact that they incorporated it into this run. Meets with the brother. He's saying, now he's kind of like saying, oh, I know that somebody that murdered her and I know who did it. He's kind of like, trying to weed out who could have possibly been in it because he thinks it probably was an inside job, that it had something to do with the family. I won't say who it was, but one of the family members is coming at Oliver Queen and is going to attack him, but we see stuff, this like the effects of something happening to the family member. And who is it? It's Count Vertigo. Love the way everything is just topsy-turvy, kind of, like everything's spun upside down, and really effective in showcasing Count Vertigo's powers. Great shot of Oliver trying to find a way to take him out, and he does it in such a great way because he shoots this arrow, it's bouncing off everything, it's ricocheting, and then boom, hits him right in the temple, and you just see the eyes in circles, really good. And now, again, the hexagon. So he saw the ring shape, right, that Abigail was holding. And now the hexagon drawn in the sand. So he's starting to kind of figure out that there's a connection there. I love this upward look in the eyes of Count Vertigo as he's being questioned by Oliver. Just so good. So I don't want to get too into the end of the story, but show off some more really awesome art. Again, just like the red, the yellow, just minimal backgrounds, loving the shots. And I love the way they're getting you up to speed with each issue without being like, spending pages and pages. So each issue will kind of catch you up. And that's something that, some fans, like, you get mad, especially if you read it in a collection. I think it serves the stories really well. And also within these 4 issues, you could get a full beginning, middle, and end to the story because you are given a little recap. I swear, some of the new, do well for new comic book creators to study the masters of the past and study the storytelling, because sometimes I feel like it's just too for the trade and you kind of miss what makes monthly periodicals makes comic books really good. This is a great technique too, just like Oliver thinking in his head, just the different floating heads. Now he's got to play the part to throw people off the scent, so he's partying and he makes comments about how does Bruce do it. So I really dug that. I think Mike W. Barr's writing is super strong in this book. I think shows why was one of the premier writers, especially during the 80s. Just great storytelling. The art, love this too. Look at this. It's phenomenal. Just the choices that are taken here and the angles that we see at times, like just putting them in the shadows. As we get to the end, there's some really cool scenes here that I wanted to point out before I wrap up. And it's them in the plane. So all of them are coming, like Oliver's teamed up with a CIA agent and they're in this jet, and we see them talking, but we're shown from different angles from the jet, right? Now the jet's diving down. And then we're still like, they're opening the door, they're about to jump out the hatch, and it just keeps building and building and building before we finally get him jumping out of the plane. And then this interesting choice of the panel looking through that vision. Just very cool techniques that he's doing in this book. And this is what made me just want to like continue to kind of dive deep into some more of his work, check out some of the other titles he worked on. This is where like the Toth kind of came into play for me, like the way he depicts Black Canary right here. I won't show the ending off. I've shown enough. If that didn't make you want to check out this book, then I don't know what will, because this is some great, great comic book stuff right here. If you're a Green Arrow fan, definitely pick this up. If you're a fan of like, DC in the 80s, pick this up. If you just want a dope comic book story, this is definitely for you. So hope you guys dug the video. Hope you check this comic out. Check out the rest of the content on the channel. And make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid drops. And on that note, I'm out.